everyone in this quiet, peaceful Friday just before the Easter break.
It's certainly quiet. And yeah, it's a public holiday here in the UK. It's a public holiday in Denmark, I think in the Netherlands, and probably a lot of other European countries right now. So it's
not in Poland.
Not in Poland.
That was something what I realized isn't fair yesterday and the day before. Everyone was just waving to each other, saying goodbye, it's a longer weekend. And then I realized that even though we should be kind of enjoying more of these holidays as a cultural thing here in Poland, we don't have a day off on Friday.
Here's the thing, though, Marcin. I worked with you and the Polish team at Cogworks for a very long time, and it was very well known that Poland has so many public holidays, but for random reasons. And you'd get some years you'd have like significantly more than we'd get in the UK. So I don't think you can complain too much.
I do not complain, of course, and I do really enjoy this quiet and peaceful days when I can have almost meeting-less days, and which I truly enjoy. But yeah, it's this year it's almost the same amount, around 20 days as a public holidays during the year or something like that. So it's pretty similar to DK and
compared to our 8 public holidays.
8. Okay. Okay, let's finish this topic. No, it's good to be here, and of course we discussed last week if we should do the umbraCoffee today or not. But we can see that some people are watching, and maybe some people also will use this opportunity to be able to watch it live. Maybe in cases of normally being interrupted by the standard work days.
It also means we can say whatever we want, and very few people will know about it.
It still stays on YouTube.
Yeah, it does.
But you can always hide it. Yeah, that's our channel, right? So we can do whatever we want to do. But yeah, of course, there are some topics to discuss today, and it's not a quiet week in the full spectrum. And we can probably start from a big thing that was announced a couple days after our last umbraCoffee.
Wasn't it? Was. Oh yeah,
it was on Monday. Yeah,
it was
officially on Monday.
Yeah. Well, let's share the news and then we can tell the actual story.
Yes. So, of course, it's about a second from the bigger acquisitions done by Umbraco recently. And this is Outfield Digital. And for all of those who don't know, the brand behind vendor, construct, and various other things done in the meantime. This is the company driven by Lucy and Matt Brailsford, and yeah, it's a vendor, construct, and 2 of the great Umbracians now being acquired by Umbraco itself, right? So that's a huge.
Lucy is now working in the DevRel team on kind of community outreach, which she's done a great job of with Code Cabin and things. So that's really exciting. And then Matt, of course, is heading up the e-commerce team, a newly created team, but it's part of the commercial packages team. So vendor and construct are now part of the Umbraco HQ commercial offering.
Yeah, and there were a lot of conversations flying around, of course, and we can say that we will address this topic in the more details next week, because we will have an amazing guest from both sides, from the acquired side and from the acquiree as well. So we will. Yeah.
So the story goes, we would have had them last week, but the things were not like signed on the dotted line, shall we say, until just after umbraCoffee, and therefore it was a little bit too short notice, and it couldn't all line up. And then this week being public holiday, we can't. So it's happening next week. I got a very excited call from Lucy on Friday morning last week, telling me some information that I pretended was news to me because I'd heard it through some other sources. But it's incredibly exciting, and it's a really good fit for Umbraco. I was asked to give some thoughts and feedback, shall we say, during the acquisition process, and I very openly said we wouldn't be doing anything with e-commerce if it wasn't because I've used e-commerce platforms in the past. They've always been a nightmare. They've been horrible. And Vendor actually makes it nice. We've been able to do some really powerful things there, being able to work really closely with Matt to push it beyond its limits. So I think it's a great fit for Umbraco.
Same here. Whenever I was involved in doing vendor implementations, it was always a huge support and help from that side. And generally, I told you last week when we discussed about this acquisition, it was like when we discussed headless and headless commerce in the headless community, there were some kind of signs that Umbraco is considering or going towards this direction of involving commerce more, which was obviously related now with what we can see now at the moment. But it is interesting, and of course, a lot of people were chatting about the commercial offering, the product itself, why this one, etc. But it's going to be discussed multiple times, and we can definitely address it with the right people behind the both products next week. But one thing that we can also mention is the code cabin, because that was a question that some people asked. What is happening with the code cabin then? Is it a part of the Alpha Digital? And I think I can't remember where, but probably on Twitter there was a thread from Code Cabin itself that the Code Cabin stays as a community activity, and it was always done next to Outfield Digital activities. So it's not changing. It's not being a part of acquisition. So it is as it is, and still open for applications. So that's
absolutely.
That's the story behind the Code Cabin, because that was a question I also raised by some of the team members on my side. So yeah, definitely this topic we will discuss a lot next week, so we can skip to the next one. But obviously, congrats and high five Europe to both Umbraco and Outfield Digital for this step. The next on our list is Skrift release from this week. And
record for the longest Skrift title ever, I think.
Yeah, and that exposes a really nice responsive functionalities here in the header. Because if you can zoom in and zoom out, you can see that the header behaves really nice and responsive.
Very good.
It's a really, really young header. But I must admit, I haven't had time yet to read through those two articles. But I saw them flying around.
I've read this one. I've read this one, and incredibly interesting because I didn't know. I've not used GitLab ever. I didn't know. Didn't know this was a feature. So they have this bi-directional mirroring thing, which is basically a way of keeping two repositories in sync with the source, which is kind of cool. We have in our work setup, we always try and let our clients own their repository, and we then have a copy that we do all of our Git processes on, pull requests, etc. The client can have access to as well, but we then sync between the two and push between the two, which is the same approach as Umbraco Cloud. You've got an Umbraco Cloud repo. You maybe want a copy of that in your infrastructure. How do you do that? And this is how you do that with GitLab. And then there's another approach with DevOps, which is just not as nice. Unfortunately, it's a lot clumsier, a lot more manual. So it's using pipelines to do the synchronization. But regardless,
so it's not only about having a kind of cloud repository as an origin, right? It's more to two-way communication and automated sync, right? So it's not that you have an origin, you pull, because that's of course how we did it in the past with the cloud projects, that we had an origin, sometimes as a sub-repo, it was pulled and synchronized. So whatever can be automated around this, I think it will be great. And I right now remember a lot of discussions with both Bjarke and various HQ members who were involved in more like cloud infrastructure, that it would be really good to have these processes somewhere, but maybe not on the cloud repo, right? That's.
I think the idea, maybe I'm going to get another axe in the post for this. The idea is eventually this being able to bring your own repo, I think. So you could say my cloud site lives in my GitHub account. This user has access to it, so they can push updates, but I own the repo effectively, which gets around this a bit. But you can see this being applicable to broader use cases than just on Umbraco Cloud. The example I gave of our project set up with client remotes, or even, I don't know, open source projects where you've got an open source repo forked and you want to keep that in sync with the original. It's very cool. I'd love to see an example of how you could do this in GitHub. I guess it would be the approach. It would be the same with DevOps, where you'd have an action that runs periodically to go and do all the grunt work. But I'd love to see it, baked in.
Yeah. But that's cool. Definitely one of the ways to go with the club, because probably one of the most raised question was about the workflows, the Git flows, and anything with the cloud, especially that it was a website project back in the days, right? So it was not a compilable project that was having all of the sources. So yeah, that's good to explore. And yeah, I'm also surprised how the GitLab is expandable and how it's great compared to GitHub, because I always thought that the GitHub is ruling, and I heard multiple times recently that GitLab had a lot of great features which
I've
GitHub
also been hearing a lot more love for GitLab in recent times too.
Yeah. Maybe one day we should try that. I work daily with Bitbucket now, so I do miss GitHub, and I do miss anything. Yes.
Bitbucket so, really has fallen behind. It was
quite innovative, right? That's sad. But maybe Bitbucket as an origin repo, some processes somewhere outside. Who knows? Who knows? But and the second article is from Corner, and he shared some story behind empowering communities with Discord and Umbraco, and of course it relates to his talks and various articles and investigations from the past. And I think for everyone, I relate to some of the content because I saw some of this implementation. We of course also mentioned it in various umbraCoffees, but yeah, it's gathered all together, and there's a lot of use cases and code also shared with the construct also behind the scenes. So. And I don't know if you saw also, but there was a lot of discussions about construct being part of the core potentially.
That's a really interesting question, because there is value there. Like, it saves a lot of developer time, but I think the value was there because it was an independent tool on top of separate to Umbraco. It's not Umbraco, and therefore it. Yeah.
But if the tool is there now, right? If the tool is there now, why not to have this as a
I did raise this before as well. There is a Fluent API inside the Umbraco core for a lot of their APIs that they use in their unit test projects. It's like an integrations thing. I said it at the time. I wish they would expose some of that publicly. I mean, you can, if you want to add a dependency on the unit test project, you can use that against the real APIs, but it does make sense. It's the way that APIs or SDKs, have gone in recent times, isn't it? Where you expect a Fluent API in a lot of cases, and the Umbraco one is maybe a bit disconnected. I think there'll be, let's say, a realignment of construct with Umbraco when V13 comes, because the new back office is going to change a lot of those concepts, removing things from the back end and back end registration onto the front end. So we'll see. Maybe we'll see more of it in core. I wouldn't hedge my bets on it. We'll talk about it next week. Why not?
Yeah, why not? But at the same time, that's a really interesting challenge to face, because we used to live in times where we had both front end and back end possibilities to register things, and then we screamed for unification of these functionalities, and now again we are splitting because the both worlds are living separately. So
we are.
I saw
a discussion on Twitter this week about, was it Razor components and Blazor components, which I don't know that much about, but my understanding is those can compile down to native web components, and therefore you could run them in the Umbraco back office. And someone was saying how it's really important that Umbraco considers this now, so that it's all possible in future. I don't know if I care enough about this to get that impassioned. Like, I think the back office is becoming very much a front end concern, which is fine, and that's not for me. And I don't think the two worlds. I don't think we should be forcing the two worlds together, as you say, when they're naturally already splitting apart.
And at the same time, if there will be a shared layer, which is of course the API layer in between, nothing should at least stop us and anyone from extending it in the way how they want it, right? So
yeah,
that's exciting, and definitely we can discuss it in the more details with next week and in some further episodes too. So yeah, that was the Skrift release this week, and a couple other releases to mention, starting from Uskind. Product update with the 4.1 version of Site Builder.
This was well timed, considering they've added
e-commerce
Snipcart integration. So like a few clicks and you've got an e-commerce store. Awesome. But then Umbraco obviously releasing their thing, making their announcement a couple of days later. And then improvements to filtering and general paging and stuff. I've not used Uskind in a very long time.
But I must admit that I was investigating Uskind for one of the potential prospects a couple weeks or months ago. It was like, and the e-commerce was a heavy requirement there, but the budget was very tight. And in this case, that's sounds like something really worth considering, especially that it was mentioned to be integrated with Shopify and some other platforms that are already might be already used by some of the e-commerce.
My understanding of Snipcart is it's like a purely JavaScript based front end checkout flow, and then you just have to feed it the product data. So like with a JSON object, I think. So you could drop that into probably any Umbraco site. But I guess Uskind have wired it all up as a vendor coming soon. Interesting.
Yeah, that was the page that I was checking exactly, and that was mentioned. That the Snipcart might be the first one because it potentially was driven by some use case already in place. But vendor, e-commerce, EasyRead, ShopRocket, Shopify, Gumroad, and more. So that having this in place. Gumroad, for example, that I use to sell my ebook, all the other stuff which are some of us can already use, and then having some content that extends that's impressive. And I'm really looking forward to playing around more with this integration, because it looks like a time saver for multiple smaller projects in this case who might just have it all bundled at some point. So nice release from Uskind this week. Other than that, there is a content creator package.
It's happened though. The ChatGPT API has been integrated into the back office. Not quite in the form we thought it would. It's doing text generation.
Yes.
But it's not a chatbot just quite yet. But I know there was some chats in the Gold Partner Slack or the MVP Slack a few weeks ago as well about, has anyone done anything with ChatGPT? It was only a matter of time, wasn't it?
Exactly. But I hear a lot of great feedback from people using it amongst the various departments, not only developers. So why not to seek for use cases? Because it's not only to have it anywhere, basically for anything, but to find a real nice use case where it will help get more value out of using it. So it's here. Maybe a first step towards next integrations, and as it's open source, nothing stops us.
Well, if you've seen, I think you can ask ChatGPT-4 to say, build me a website, and it will build you HTML, CSS, JavaScript, like fully functioning website, which is
I found the most joy of pasting the class code and asking it to optimize it a little bit, or find the more optimized way of using the same code, or writing unit tests for the methods out there. So it has its potential. So that still requires some human eye verification, because it's sometimes so stupid. and recently on one of the parties, we tested it with my friend who is a physiotherapist. And we asked about some crazy human body elements, and it was completely wrong. So we need to be curious. It still won't replace humans, but it can help. It can help for sure. The next one is Azure SSO package update from Steve and Jibe, with a really nice icon and cool properties exposed in this marketplace now. It's for Umbraco 10 and 11.
Yep.
And it's Azure AD SSO, right?
Exactly. So you can put that on any of your sites, and with a couple of settings, get full Azure AD logins working for your back office, which is powerful. And I know it was previously quite painful to do, say, V7 and 8. It was definitely more painful because you had to hook into OWin, and you had to
middlewares and all other crazy stuff. definitely a lot easier now. And the code is exactly familiar to any other ASP core applications that are using it. So, yeah, we're not far away from that one. So cool, and thanks Steve for sharing this one. And the next one is a set of extensions. And I know I saw you've been commenting it out today on Twitter, if I'm correct.
This is one of
That's
my
amazing.
favorite things I've seen in quite a while. It's quite good. So for those that don't know, GDS, which is our government digital services in the UK, have a big drive on making, basically, we want to be the best, build the best government websites in the world. And they've got frameworks, a lot of frameworks, guidelines, accessibility, etc. And so they have a kind of UI library. And what someone has done at the, was it the Pensions Institute or something? Pensions regulator in the UK has made a set of components that can then use those UI components alongside the Umbraco block list. So you've got blocks that represent each component, and you can then build up your pages in a nice dynamic way. Umbraco is very popular with a lot of public sector sites in the UK, and so
there was even a starter kit, right, back in the days.
There was Kevin Jump's.
Kevin Jump that Gov. Yeah, but that looks really impressive.
This is great, and it's extensive. It covers a lot of stuff. I wonder if we can. Get Rick on at some point to have a closer look. This looks really awesome.
Yeah, I would definitely would love to see a working example and the demo, but it has such a great documentation as well.
Yeah,
but that's a government project. That's a
yeah. They've got time and money to spend. No, but the documentation again is a huge part of a lot of the stuff they've done with all of their work, working in open as well. So this has all been built in public. Is very cool. I'm not sure it's the kind of project that would be necessarily open to contribution so much, but it's just really, really cool to see this happening.
Definitely, we need to get someone to walk us through that and explore how it's integrated with Umbraco, how, and of course it's open source, so we can explore that. But a dive into this one would be really cool, and whatever can help to reuse as much as it's possible to be reused. And we know that these projects are relatively similar, right? So they have some similar requirements. So I even saw some kind of external commercial platform that was selling licenses for government institutions like this, and they were pretty expensive, to be fair. And they have this kind of components and CMS on top of that. So.
Telerik had a very popular UI component thing, and
it was something starting from G. Granicus?
I'm gonna find it. Granicus
or something like that. That was
Kendo UI now, or is that a front end one? Oh, I don't know.
The one I have in mind, it is more like a CMS itself. It's like a platform, SaaS platform for government institutions. So, but at the same time, from the perspective of developer, it looked like not that much, to be fair. And this looks pretty complete as well when it comes to some components that can build a fully functional website already. So yeah definitely worth discussing in the more details.
Let's see if we can get Rick on. I'd be super.
That would be really cool.
There was a few other releases as well, just like ExamineX, bug fixes, SimpleTreeMenu, Slimsy. All the Umbraco Integrations projects seem to have got an update this week as well. Plenty of other patches.
Yeah, plenty of other patch releases too. And cool. And events now. Reminder for all of the people still waiting to buy tickets in the better pricing. So 2 weeks. 2 weeks is to get the early bird tickets for Cold Garden.
And I think Steffi confirmed in the recent what was it called, the office hours. Steffi confirmed there that I think it's going to go up by €200. So a fair saving if you get your ticket in the next 2 weeks. So go buy them.
Yeah, exactly. So and there is also one more week to nominate projects for Umbraco Awards and packages. Yes,
more projects and other people's packages or your own packages.
Indeed, yeah. So April 14th is the deadline for that one, and yeah, that's not a lot of time to combine these nominations, but yeah, there is a huge opportunity to step out and stand out with the solution that maybe no one's seen yet, right? For example,
Yeah.
I don't know what about you, but still, I'm really looking forward to this awards. As every year, it's such a huge dose of inspiration of what can be done,
Definitely.
and how some other teams sometimes invest so much time into things that some of other teams cannot sometimes. Right?
Yeah. I'll
That's
be
a huge.
honest. We've won one for the past 2 years, and so I've not watched the award shows live because I think last year I headed straight to the bar and we got some champagne and we enjoyed ourselves, and maybe the year before as well. Oh, we had champagne delivered because we were on the road. This year we don't have anything. Like I'm
Same.
scrapping around trying to find something. We're not nominating anything because
Same
we
here.
just don't have anything that exciting to show, sadly. But it will be. You're right. It's always great to see that summary blog post at the end. See the ones that won. There's always a little bit of controversy, like, oh, I think that one should have won. That was my preference. Well, yeah.
Same here. This year we are not collecting nominations too, so I will be an observer, and I'm looking for inspirations to be fair for next year, because then we can have some more to offer. And of course the categories. There is a lot of cool categories, and the one that is coming close to Umbraco. Sustainability models recently, best green solution. I think there is a huge potential of really finding out cool solutions that were not that pushed towards the public yet. That's always great.
On the green solution thing. I recently watched a recording of Kim's office hours from December, and he raised a really interesting question, which is we're HQ are aiming to be carbon neutral or net zero or whatever. But how can they get that certified? How can you can say we think we've reached it, but how can someone come in and validate that every single thing, all the suppliers you're using, etc., are being appropriately offset?
Yeah.
And it's the same for this green solution thing. Like I can say, yes, we've made these considerations, but is there any body out there certifying that a site or that a company or whatever is actually green or is actually carbon neutral or whatever?
Yeah. There are some checkers, right? I don't know if you have seen them, right? There are some websites checking for the carbon footprint left by specific servers and sites, but it's not, of course, certified.
It's a guess, ultimately, at that point. So,
or some maybe calculation, but still, it might be not in depth, right, or relevant. Same as lighthouse scores, right? Sometimes.
Yeah.
So things like that. But yeah, you brought a really nice point, and I don't know, to be fair.
But they've said there it has to be quantifiable. So
yeah.
What represents that being quantifiable? I'd love to know.
Yeah, maybe we will be able to ask this question before the awards to then verify if that was exactly this.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's a really nice question. So yeah, that's Umbraco Awards and couple meetups, and we've mentioned them already. But as a reminder, Spring Breakfast in New York City on April 17th, with 13 attendees already signed up, and the one in Chicago on April 19th, also in the breakfast area. So everyone from there, feel free to join and explore.
Annoying. I'm in the US that week. I'm just on the wrong coast.
wave from the distance.
I'll try.
Yeah. So other events and other meetups this month. Bristol Talks online edition, also on April 19th, with still talks to be announced.
Yes.
So that's the one to follow, and we will definitely share the agenda if it will arrive there. And a London April social food one. That is in person, April 20th. So it's more like a social event.
We try and shake it up between a bit of like socials, discussions, formal talks, online virtual meetups as well. The aim is to do maybe 2 of these a year, and the socials shouldn't just be going to a pub and drinking because it's not super inclusive. So we're trying to do some new things with different formats, such as food. So I'm unfortunately missing this one, but I think Ravi is lining up either some North African food or some Lebanese food or something. Sounds quite interesting. I'm jealous.
Nice. Sweet. And the last but not least from the meetups that are announced so far, it's Newcastle meetup group and Friday, April 21st, with Rick and Bjarke discussing the green aspects of decarbonizing the planet, and also a new back office for Umbraco 13th. So yeah, these are the meetups, and some of the other things to be mentioned. One, which is really cool, from Dan Booth, an automatic image captions and translation using AI in Umbraco. Very catchy, buzzworthy topic. But we discussed it. I don't know, Callum, if you remember, at some point having some image recognition to pass what is on the image to search indexes to Umbraco. I had this kind of crazy idea of enabling search through, I would say, hand in the Umbraco background. So something like Google Photos is doing. So you search for car,
it's been done. It's been done. Like, this is the thing that I love. This every 6 months to a year we get a demo like this cropping up, and someone goes, "I've done. It's really cool." And no one, as far as I know, has ever really pushed a package out and maintained a package.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
I remember back in 2017, we had Henk Bullman talk at the UK Fest showing exactly this. Henk's spoken at Code Garden as well of how they've done image recognition to detect fake products from Umbraco nodes. We've had Steve Temple who released a package for this. We've had countless others that have done it, but no one's ever actually committed to it and maintained something, and it's not become widely popular or adopted. I don't know if it's too niche. It does require a subscription with an external service for it to work. Maybe it's that.
Yeah, cost of Azure search or other things like that, right? Yeah. But was it done for the search indexes? That's something.
Yeah. So, well, the idea being that
I remember for alt text, because someone did it for the alt text
I think
property.
That's this case. So Dan's showing off alt text being translated. Somebody, it might have even been Niels at one point, showed how he'd integrated a service that was tagging properly, and then you could search by those tags. It's been done, but no one's put it in.
That's a potential for the package award, if it will be a package. But it needs to be a package first. But it's really cool, and of course, as we said, it's always worth flagging and highlighting these demos. So maybe Dan will make the effort and release it as a package. Maybe. Who knows? And we will definitely see. The next interesting thing is from Soren and Power Toys. So yeah, that's if anyone wants to access the Umbraco documentation in Power Toys run, why not to do that? And that's really cool. I haven't used that. Did you use the Power Toys one?
I'm not a Windows user, so no. Yeah. But I can see the value of this, and I guess Soren will share details on how he's done it. I'm assuming it's configurable, and he's just plugged in the source from the search from whatever it's called. I want to say DocFX Gitbook that they use for the documentation. I wonder, but it's definitely something that's needed for if someone's like a religious Power Toys user and using that to navigate around Windows generally, but also find stuff on the web. I can see this being helpful.
But at the same time, I saw a lot of other people from outside of Umbraco community doing extensions of Raycast tool for Mac users. So it might be, I see it similar, right? So it's, and I will be talking a lot about automating some of the steps in our daily life with some no-code and low-code tools, and documentation wasn't part of this discussion, but it might be if someone works with the documentation all day and looking for solutions. Same with the ChatGPT or anything else.
I mean, we did a chatbot proof of concept many years ago now, 2018, where we pointed it at the Umbraco documentation, and we were able to ask it some questions, and that is something that would be very helpful because search is not great, and especially if you don't quite know what you're searching for, it's not great. Sometimes you find it through Google, sometimes you find it through the search on the docs site, sometimes you find an hour post that links to the docs. it would be kind of helpful to have a human search to do there. Ask it a question, get an answer. The docs.
True, but Soren definitely will share more how it's done, and maybe then we can see if it will be expanded or extended with some really cool, powerful stuff out there. Cool. And Andy shared a small info about his new tag helper, our map tag helper. So yeah, another kind of tag for our Umbraco tag helper set, and the aim here is to
on this.
easy method. Yeah.
I was thinking on this. This is possibly its own package, because like it has so much more potential. You could do other map providers and other things as well. I would encourage Andy to release this separately to the main tag helper project. I don't know if anything's changed since last time.
Originally, our Umbraco tag helpers .map.
Yeah, maybe. You run the risk of that tag helper project just becoming so bloated with a lot of opinionated things or vendor specific things that don't apply. And I can see us needing map tag helpers. Lots of people using map tag helpers, but maybe not wanting the full library. Maybe this is
but still a good set of tag helpers, and until it will be maintained and used, that should be okay. But the risk is there, right? The risk is always there. But it looks really cool, and yeah, definitely will be used by many, because this is the way to go these days, right? So really cool. And the next one is Rick, who is here with us today on umbraCoffee, and his great blog was about custom search paths for Umbraco grid partial views in the Razor View engine. So yeah, I haven't read it yet, and I was not exploring and playing around a lot with this implementations yet, but it looks like a full in-depth step-by-step instruction how to do it. So if I would struggle, looks like really nice and easy modern way to do it and support it. So nice one. Nice, and there will be a huge inspiration for everyone who wants to explore that custom search paths there. And last but not least, the final information on our list is another US information and US Summit, Umbraco US Summit, that we finally have some more information about.
We have dates, we have an idea of the format, or the structure at least, and yeah, there's a lot to digest on this page. I don't know. How honest are we allowed to be on this show?
110% honest.
Okay. I'll give a very quick summary. So it's on the 2nd and 3rd of October, which is cool. It's a Monday and a Tuesday, which in Europe feels odd because most of our conferences are on like a Friday.
Yep, that's true.
That's fine, whatever. It's very shortly after Dugfest, which is, I don't know if it's a shame or not. Like it's not the same audience, but it's possibly the same HQ people. I don't know. 3 events being a community event, a day of learning, building, and togetherness. I do not know what on earth that means. But I'm assuming
might be a hackathon,
might be a hackathon, but then that sort of happened last year. It wasn't the best planned thing in the world. And I don't know how many, like, it's the struggle we have in the UK as well, getting people's bosses to commit to sending them to a hackathon or workshops even versus a conference is slightly trickier. So it's going to be, the first day is going to be a developer event or a community event and a partner event separately, both at the same venue as last year. And then on the Tuesday, it's going to be an all-day conference for everyone, which I'm guessing is going to be the same format as last year, where it was a little bit more business leaning, maybe less developer leaning. We'll still have to learn though, right? This is still early days, and I think they're probably more focused on getting Code Garden out of the way first. But announce these details so that people can put their names down. As Lottie's pointed out in the chat, why British people? Well, first picture's Brits, second picture is all, well, it's at Code Garden. It's mostly Danes. and the third one's also at Code Garden. So
but isn't it a partner summit? It was a partner summit,
it was
right?
a partner summit, yeah.
Yeah, last year. Yeah, that's true. But at the same time, I think this is the time for kind of gathering feedback and also shaping the event up. And I think that last year, and I can't remember if it was last year, but so one of the years it was like less developers friendly and centric. So this time it might be distributed. So everyone should find.
I was there
something
last
that
year,
might-
and it was definitely not developer centric, and it was even the technical talks were very sales focused, and that might just be what works in America. And I might just be used to the fact that we go to an event here and I can go to like a technical deep dive. There wasn't really that sort of content. I don't know if there was the demand for either. Predominantly, the attendees were more business focused, and that might just be how it was advertised and whatever it was. But I've been to the US festivals in Chicago before, and those were packed full of great content for developers. So I'm sure there's a happy balance to find somewhere there.
Yeah.
I'm sure they'll listen. The other thing is, and probably the reason why the pictures aren't from last year, is the venue is quite corporate and didn't really lean itself towards having nice community pictures. You don't have that sort of friendly atmosphere that you get, the kind of warmth that you get from these pictures. It was quite corporate, so it might well be that that's why they don't.
Okay, so it sounds like it might be an umbraCoffee run in the suits. That would be the episode 1000.
You know what? It's too early, really. I know they've been working on this for a while, because I had the dates at the start of this year, but there's plenty of time. I'm sure they'll listen. I'm sure they'll do some exciting things for.
And also for all of us and all of you guys watching and listening to it and observing the website, share your feedback and ideas, especially people from US, I think, because
it makes it quite clear.
Of this.
It makes it quite clear on that page that it's targeted towards the US developer community or the US Umbraco community. So not necessarily to international people hoping to travel over there. I don't think it's really that type of event like Code Garden would be. So if you've got thoughts, I'm sure share them. I'm sure they'd be pleased to have them.
That's true. Cool. So we will see, but definitely there are some in between events that will also help shaping it up. So starting from
that month, that month is going to be packed. Duke Fest. I don't know if I've leaked anything here. I'm sorry to anyone that I've offended in 5 minutes. I think Duke Fest is the Thursday before that event, and then a couple of weeks later is UK Fest. A couple of weeks after that is DK Fest. I heard a rumor about a Swedish festival maybe happening. You didn't hear that from me.
So we are getting back on track with all of those events. So maybe we need to revisit our website.
Oh yeah, where's that even gone?
I don't even know. It was somewhere on the Umbraco Cloud.
I think it died. I think the DNS died at one point.
Yeah. Good memories. Maybe someone will build it again if there will be time. But yeah, that's cool. And of course, there's a lot of happening and a lot of events, a lot of meetups. So that's great. And yeah, it's spring outside somewhere. So we will be getting there, and definitely there will be more to share and say. And next week, as we mentioned, we'll be here with great people from Output Digital, Umbraco now, and also from Umbraco HQ.
Matt, Lucy, Kim, and Philip joining us next Friday. So
yep. So
a big episode.
Maybe if anyone will have a specific question or anything to be asked there, please leave it here in the comment, or find us on Twitter or anywhere else, and let us know what you want to know.
We like particularly hard-hitting questions as well. So if you've got a slightly controversial one, ask it, because
Axworthy. Yeah, that's true. Let us know if there is anything what is concerning you or interesting you, and we'll definitely ensure that this question will be asked. Thanks for today, and for all of you who enjoys the day off, and for everyone else, have a great break and the longer weekends, whatever length of the weekend you have in your country. Do enjoy the break, and thanks for this week, and see you next one.
Yeah.
Thanks, Callum. Thanks, everyone. Have a good rest of the day around. Bye-bye.